Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today I have a 2019 Chevrolet Silverado 2500 with the L5P Duramax. So if you don't know, in 2017 they reworked this entire engine. I mean, there's a lot of updates to it. They updated the power, and yeah, it had, I think, what, 765, 397 in the LMLs. The L5P has 910 pound-feet of torque, and it has 440 horsepower, I believe. Now, as you guys know, we're going to do a towing test, but today it's going to be specifically just going around the truck, showing you guys all the numbers. My goal is to try to reduce the time for the tow test. So like I said, we'll show you around the truck today, show you all the features, the numbers, and maybe give you guys a little bit of a history lesson on the L5P. Let's get started. Now, as far as the front appearance goes, you do have a painted grille and lower bumper. It does have some chrome accents on the front too, on the hood, around the hood scoop, and on the grille and around the emblem. And if you go off to the side, you have like a polished look for the wheel, chrome accents on the badges, mirrors, and the running board. I like the styling of this. Even though it's not all blacked out, it does still look really nice. I like a little bit of chrome accents when you have a lot of painted features on the truck. But you can kind of see down here, right close to the tow hooks, it looks like this truck may have had a snow plow, but not a big deal. I mean, hey, they use the truck for work, and that's what they're used for. You have your parking sensors off to the side. And I mean, this truck is still basically new, so there's not a lot of damage to the truck. I mean, there's a few, nicks here and there. This is going to be a metal bumper too, just as an FYI. But all in all, everything looks really, really good. So check out what's under the hood of this beast. So this is going to be a 6.6 liter Duramax. It's going to be good for 910 foot-pound-feet of torque, and it has 445 horsepower. I was a little bit off there by 5, but hey, at the end of the day, that's big numbers. It's the same amount of power this truck has in 2021. They haven't changed much, but this engine did have a huge overhaul on it, and I'll go over that with you guys in a video later on. Now, the one thing I never really cared for in this truck is that they had the DEF fill up top, and you can kind of see where it has like a little bit of splatter. I mean, this isn't the worst spot it could be in, but I would prefer to have this next to the diesel. I know a lot of guys have mentioned that some guys are putting diesel in this tank or vice versa, whatever, but I don't know, this just seems like a cumbersome spot, especially when you have to lift the nozzle over your paint. I'm just not a huge fan of that. But 6-speed transmission is the Allison 1000, so it's pretty much a robust transmission, and it's been in this truck for a long time. One last thing to mention also is this diesel option was almost $10,000 back in the day, so just keep that in mind. Independent front suspension up front. They do put some fabric material in here, should help keep it a little bit cleaner, maybe some insulation. And this is running on a 20-inch wheel, and it's wrapped in the LT 295/60/20. It's a load range E, and here's your capacities for the tire: 3,195 pounds, 80 pounds cold, and for a dual it's 2910. So not a lot of capacity. I would like to see a little bit more. And this does have the crew cab configuration with the standard bed too. Out back, you are going to have a leaf pack. This is pretty much the same thing we've had for a while. It has 5 in the main. If you get a 3500, you are going to have overload leaf springs. And I've always liked how GM integrates those steps out back. It does make it easier to get inside the bed. And you do have a Class 5 receiving hitch, 7 and 4 pin. And the rear bumper is painted, and they do black out the rear emblem too. Assisted tailgate, spray and bed liner. Looks like this came from the factory this way too, and it's held up pretty well for the most part. I'm surprised they didn't coat this. It's kind of weird, but no fifth wheel prep package, although it was available back then. Pretty easy to lift up the tailgate. You do have a backup camera too, and if I didn't mention, this is going to be LTZ too, so this is the top of the line. Really nice truck though. Let's go and take a look at the number. Now, if you're not familiar, you do have a 10,000 pound gross vehicle weight rating. Gross axle weight rating up front is going to be 5,200 pounds. The rear is going to be 6,200 pounds. And here are just some of your tire specifications too for the truck. All in, total payload capacity is going to be 2,108 pounds. And as you guys can see, This is going to be a black on black configuration. Really nice styling on the interior of this truck too. You do have your trailer brake controller right here, and you can add gain or reduce it. Full drive system, and this is going to control the lights for the truck. And I mean, for 22,000 miles, I did a review on a Sierra you guys should check out, and I mean, this truck actually has some wear and tear on the seats. I wonder, in the comment section, does GMC and Chevy use the same materials for their trucks, or is there more upscale leather put in? Because this truck has a black interior, and black does wear a little bit quicker, in my opinion. So that might be something to consider. I mean, this truck was taken care of. I mean, there's some scratches here and there on the interior, but it's not bad. And it cleaned up pretty well, too. As you guys can see down here, they have USB inputs. They also have two plug inputs and like a wall style plug too. And you can control your pedals, traction control. The most important things is obviously going to be your exhaust brake for towing, and then your tow haul mode is going to be up top here. It does have the sunroof, and this is definitely smaller in comparison with the 2020 and ups. I was actually kind of interested to see how big it was back here, and yeah, this seat is comfortable for where I am right now. But you have a hump here in the center, and I can tell this cab is smaller. I am very surprised how much smaller it feels than the newer trucks too. And I know a lot of people complain about the newer truck's design. I do see that it is a step up from this truck. I mean, this looks dated for the most part. They also did use LED lights in the interior, which was news to me. I didn't know they used that back in 2019. But the leather back here still looks brand new. Still soft. And you can flip the seats up 60/40 out back. Alright, as far as overall performance goes, this truck does handle really well. I mean, I feel like it's been said so many times, the independent front suspension on the Silverados is really, really like game-changing for overall comfort. Now, this is going to be the 2500, as I mentioned. I tried to do a 3500 for you guys. The truck sold before I got here. It was almost exactly the same as this truck. I think the only difference is it had a different style wheel. But overall, I mean, this truck is really, really comfortable. It handles well. I did reset the fuel range here. I want to show that to you guys when I stop. But they don't show like your coolant. They don't show like a lot of good stuff. They have your gauges up top, but sometimes it would just be good to have like an actual readout. Ford does it, Ram does it, but it seems like Chevy's kind of not really doing that on these older trucks. It says right now at 3 miles, I'm doing a little bit of city driving, but most of it's been highway. We get 18.5 mpg. This truck has 22,000 miles. But I mean, again, there's not much you can say about this truck other than it handles well and it just does a really good job unloaded. Whoever owned this truck prior, they had the windows tinted out back. I'm sure they had the side windows tinted, but Maryland State Inspection, if you trade your truck in or your car in, you have to take off the front tint, but the back they were able to keep on there. But the back is so dark, especially with the black interior too. One thing I noticed also is the steering wheel is kind of small on this truck. There is no telescoping function either, so not much available features as you normally see on the newer trucks. And the steering wheel is kind of thin too. Like, I feel like I like it a little bit more beefier, like on my Ram. Alright guys, I'm going to kind of show you some of the updates for this truck for the L5P Duramax, and then I'm going to show you the capacity for the diesel and for the DEF. Alright, back in 2017, GM decided to redesign the Duramax and made it the L5P. And it was a huge improvement over the LML. Now, as far as the horsepower and torque numbers go, they were beating out Ram at that time. Ram had 385 horsepower, 900 pound-feet of torque in the high output. But Ford, they were beating out in horsepower because Ford only had 440 and they had 925 pound-feet of torque. So they were class leading in that regard. Now, I do like what they did with the Duramax because, of course, when you add power, you have to make changes. So this engine is pretty much the same up until now for the new generation of GM trucks. But let's go through some of the changes. I'm going to read them off to you here so that way you have a better idea of them, because there's a lot of stuff they did. Now I am going through, I think it's dieselhub.com. They have a really good source of information in that website, and that's kind of where I'm pulling this from. I looked at the press release, but I actually wanted to give them a shout out because I have gone on their website and quoted a few things, so be sure to check them out. All right, so let's go through the list of the updates they did for the L5P. Now, again, I don't know if they've done any new updates for the L5P. However, in 2020, they did add the 10-speed Allison transmission. So let's go through it real quickly. So for the 2017 model year where they did the L5P, they did strengthen the cylinder and engine block. What they did was they hardened the cylinder walls and they used a cross-bolted main bearing. Now up next is the large diameter crankshaft. They also used larger connected rods. Now those rods were forged in alloy. They also did a new camshaft design with enhanced cam profile. I'm sure most of you guys already know this. In order to get more horsepower and torque, you obviously have to probably do something with the turbocharger. And for 2017, they did use a electronically controlled and actuated variable geometry turbocharger. Now that did increase boost to 28 psi's, and they did say that they have a more effective and efficient exhaust brake. That might be true, I don't know. I'm going to be doing a towing video next video, so we'll see if that's the case. Now, most of you guys don't care about EGR because some of you guys probably don't have it on your truck anymore. But they did upgrade that system on the truck. Really, all they did was just help the flow rate of it, so I don't know if it's really worth going through that. But the next thing on the list is they did increase oil and engine coolant flow rates, which provides 50% more oil cooling compared to the LML. The L5P did introduce a 2-piece oil pan. Now, this did help with strength and rigidity, and the old oil pan used aluminum, but the new one they use a laminated steel. The reason why they did that was because I guess the aluminum created some engine harmonics, and so the new pan actually fixed that issue. Finishing up the list is they did improve the glow plugs. The biggest thing they fixed here was just helping with those cold starts. The Allison transmission did receive a new torque converter. With that much power, horsepower, and torque, you are probably happy to hear that they did beef that up just because of that. And I'm not sure if you guys know this, but the hood scoops on the GM trucks are functional, and I believe that they push in another 60% more air, because if you don't know, the LML trucks, they did not have hood scoops, so when they added those hood scoops, they were functional. Really quickly, I wanted to show you the service and maintenance for the GM trucks. Here's the first chart. Just be sure to pause it. I'm not going to go over all this with you. And if you scroll down, it shows you some different items below that you need to address. Lastly, these are going to be your capacities. Here's for your diesel exhaust fluid tank, 7 gallons. And as far as your engine oil with filter, it's going to take 10 quarts. Thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to like this video if you thought it was helpful for you or if it was entertaining. And also be sure to stay tuned for the next video, because I will be towing my trailer with this truck that you just saw. And I'll give my impressions, and we're going to be towing up a 6% grade. See you guys in that video.